Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Classroom to Career featuring Benny Keith. A Classroom to Career was designed to bring the industry professionals to your classroom. Students and educators get a chance to learn about different career opportunities within the hospitality industry every month. As always, today's presentation will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel to enjoy at a later date. Joining us today is Chris Snyder and Patrick Mitchell. Welcome, Chris and Patrick.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to be here today. So we're honored to be able to talk to you all today. The theme of our topic is careers in food service, and really the overarching theme is opportunity. There is opportunity across this entire industry, and Pat and I come from very different backgrounds and both ended up in food service distribution. So we kind of want to talk about that. On a personal level, my title is Corporate Director of Independent Sales, which means I'm in charge of sales for the entire organization. Just as a point of reference, Benny Keith is in 17 states, and we have 9 distribution centers from Albuquerque, New Mexico into Gainesville, Florida. My background's kind of wild. I have a degree in journalism from Auburn University, and I worked in sports for a little bit on the journalism side. Decided I didn't want to work nights and weekends anymore, so I moved to Texas where my parents had relocated, and ended up in the restaurant business where you work nights and weekends. First as a bartender when I thought I was going to go to college. It was a company called Bennigan's. They were a huge chain back in the 70s. Ask your parents about it. They probably know about a Bennigan's. I ended up as a manager and then a general manager. They transferred me to California, and there I became part of an opening team for health food restaurants. It was a company called Sweet Tomatoes and Soup Plantation. And I opened 24 restaurants up and down the California coast. Very different skill set and challenges than what we had running a Bennigan's. From that, I came back to Texas. Worked for an independent restaurant operator. And again, I was a front of the house manager and I was a general manager. And then I ended up opening 3 different concepts, 2 of which I'm proud to say are still open in the state of Texas. And this is 25 years ago. Got burnt out on the restaurant industry, knew there were some other opportunities that I could pursue, but the restaurant food service industry was in my blood at that point. And that's how I ended up in food service distribution. I worked for Sysco for a few years, then ended up over at Benny Keith. I've been here for over 20 years now. I spent 5 years as a street rep, which is somebody that's selling the moms and pops up and down the street, as well as hospitals, schools, you name it, pretty much anything other than a national account. When you think national account, you think about those large chains like Sonics and those kind of things. I ended up as the director of marketing at the DFW division, which is here in Fort Worth, Texas. I did that for almost 12 years, and I've been the corporate director of independent sales for the past 3 years. One of my other roles that I'm very proud to say is I work with our culinary resource team. So the culinary resource team is a group of chefs and specialists that span 8 of our 9 divisions, and again, across 17 states. My background is not culinary. That's all Chef Pat, but I help to manage that group with Patrick's help. And then I also sit on the foundation board for the Texas Restaurant Association. So I hope I'm going to see a lot of you all at the ProStart competition week after next. With that, Patrick Mitchell, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about your background.
Wow, before we got started on this thing, Chris said, I got nothing to say. And as a radio guy, he'll jump into it. But I'm Patrick Mitchell, and I think I probably met a lot of y'all through this same thing a couple of months ago. My position here at Benny Keith is Corporate Culinary Ambassador. I too worked over at the DFW division for 12 years before I came over here to the general office. To go back in my start in the industry, I started working in some restaurants, really loved the industry, heard about the Culinary Institute of America, went up there in 1979 and graduated, and came down to New Orleans for 4 years, loved that city, great food city, came to Dallas in the end of '84, and I've been here in Texas ever since. I spent 23 years with Marriott. I spent 4 years at the Royal Orleans, 2 years at Four Seasons. It was a great experience. And then through job elimination, I moved up to executive chef and then food and beverage director. And then through job elimination with Marriott, my position was eliminated. I took that package and joined a company called Great Wolf Lodge. I spent 1 year with them opening one of the hotels here in the DFW area. And then I was approached by Benny Keith, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would work for a food service distribution company, but it's been very satisfying. It's been a unique experience. And it's funny how life and career takes you in places that you're not sure you're going to go. I worked with Chris over at the DFW division, and now I'm fortunate to work with him here at the general office with the culinary resource team. We're going to kind of talk about, not just being a chef in this industry. There's a wide variety of different positions that you can pursue and paths you can take.
Absolutely. But I think the thing to remember there is that having experiences inside the hospitality industry, whether it's at a restaurant, whether it's at a hotel, that culinary background gives you the foundation to be able to do all these different things.
Absolutely.
All right. Now I'm gonna do my best just to share screen. You gonna do the Jeopardy thing?
Okay, so what brought us here, and what brought you here? So, this industry, we talk about some great opportunities, and there's some things that really drive people towards this industry. It's a passion for food service. It's hunger for knowledge, the ability to think fast, and then they call that critical thinking. And in the ProStart competitions, certainly in the front of the house part of it, critical thinking is one of the things that they really focus on. And the critical thinking part is as everybody kind of transitions from a child at home into education, then into a career, you kind of go through this phase where everything that you do, when I was a kid, every question I had, I asked my parents. And then when I got into the industry, I was just so used to going and asking those questions. And chefs started saying to me, before you ask me where it is, go look for it or go try and solve the problem. So that's really what critical thinking is. And it's a transition that you're going to go through at this point in your lives, that you go from constantly asking somebody to then starting to kind of think about it yourself and answering the question on your own. So these are things that are great learnings from this industry, but we're also striving for perfection. And for me, being a part of a team was a huge part of it. And going the extra mile, showing people that what we can do as a team, going the extra mile and not just doing the minimum standards. But also the last thing I want to talk about here is desire to serve. It is the service industry. So if you don't have that desire to serve, you're not going to be very successful. So make sure that there's nothing wrong with serving and all the way to the top. Servant leadership is what we talk about here at Benny Keith. So there's always a desire to serve in this industry.
So we kind of touched about this briefly, but I want to go a little bit more in depth about it. So it's not all cooking. I know many of you on this meeting are working in kitchens, and that's fantastic. And again, that is the foundation for everything that you'll do. And it will make you much more valuable as you progress through your career. But there are a limitless number of things that you can do inside food service. If you're on the hotel and restaurant management side, which both Patrick and I came through at different points in times, there's accounting. There's people that work strictly on the business side of it that are analyzing food cost and putting together profit and loss statements. HR, sad but true, is a huge part of the hotel and restaurant management business. The marketing position, when I came up through restaurants, marketing was putting an ad in the yellow pages or trying to get a mention in the newspaper. Now it's all about social media. All of your large restaurant chains and hotel chains, and even most of your very successful independent restaurateurs have somebody that's exclusively dedicated to marketing and social media. The social media player is an absolute must for your success, and there's careers in that. But again, if you have the culinary chops, it helps you to speak with authority on what you're putting out there. And certainly from purchasing, Patrick could talk in depth about the hotel end where you have your, I call him a director of purchasing. That's not quite the title. It's
purchasing agent
that goes through and analyzes the relationships with all the different vendors to make sure that you're bringing in the right products at the right price. If you flip over to the distribution side, which is where Patrick and I work now, and again, the Benny Keith Company has 9 different distribution centers across 17 states. We have 700 sales reps and 85 district managers that manage those sales reps. That's getting the product to the customer. And inside there's logistics. So that's how do you get trucks from A to B. Software is a huge part of our company, especially with software security. We have an entire team devoted to IT and then in sub teams at each one of our divisions. There are marketing directors, again, back to the social media at each of our 9 divisions. Sales, as I mentioned, there's 702 sales reps, I believe, as of today. Culinary development, our culinary resource team, led by Chef Pat, spend a lot of time putting together recipes that we put in front of our sales force and in front of our customers. So we market them internally and externally to make sure that we have products that make their companies money. Brokerage and vendor opportunities. So let's talk about that for a second. A lot of successful people in our vendor community. So you think about companies like Tyson, like Kraft, these huge companies that have private or that have labels that we sell here at Benny Keith. A lot of the people that work in those companies come from restaurants and hotels. In fact, almost all of your major players have a corporate chef. Patrick and I were on a call this morning with Mondelez, which does Oreos, among other things, but that's their primary piece is cookies and desserts. Their corporate chef was on the call with us. Of course, there's purchasing. There's huge teams devoted to purchasing here at Benny Keith and with all distributors that try to bring in the right product for us to sell to the customers at the right price. And then a brokerage, a food service broker, is a company that represents a handful of different vendors. You have national brokers like Waypoint, Key Impact, Core, that represent a multitude of brokers. And what you think about there is a person. So let's say that you're in Marble Falls, Texas. Well, Tyson may not be able to have a direct rep in Marble Falls, Texas, but there's an office out of Austin that does have a series of reps that represent different brands that can go into those markets and help sell those products.
So as we kind of go down this list, looking at food sciences, there's a multitude of careers that you can follow and branch off. When I think back when I went to culinary school, and that was 41 years ago when I graduated, I'm still in touch with some of the folks that were in my class, and some have gone into sales, some have gone into being dietitians and even health inspectors, because there's all this experience that you get with a culinary degree and exposure to this industry that you can turn into whatever career really turns you on, I guess. A real good friend of mine that graduated just before I did really wanted to be a chef, and through his training, he learned all the things to it, got out into the industry and found that really wasn't what he wanted and switched, but he couldn't have done that without that degree. R&D, dietitians, as I mentioned, agriculture. I do a lot with the Texas Beef Council, and I take a look at these meat scientists and folks that are at A&M and professors and all of this stuff. There's a lot of culinary training behind that to understand what the genetics are and how they crossbreed the different cattle and whether it's cattle or whatever it is. There's so much there. From a manufacturing standpoint, we have a manufacturing division. We have Kelly Foods and Win Meat. And in that manufacturing division, there's HACCP management, looking at critical analysis there for hazard analysis, and critical checkpoints is what HACCP stands for. There's product development, there's packaging and facility operations, and there's just a number of different things that fall into that.
Let's talk about you all for a minute. So what do quality employers look for? So you gals and guys are in high school, and the first thing you're going to have to do is sell yourself. And I think that kind of goes without saying that when you're looking to get a job, no matter what the field, you're selling yourself. So what do quality employers look for, both on food service distribution and in the hospitality side? People that are coachable and teachable. That is huge. I know it sounds cliche-ish, but I'm still learning every day. And you have to be teachable. You have to be open to opportunities. The willingness to do the little things and extreme flexibility. I can't tell you how many times as a general manager in a restaurant that I ran the dishwashing machine. I can't tell you how many times I bust tables. You've got to do whatever's important at that moment and be opening to it. Handling constructive criticism in a constructive manner. That's also a huge one. Not only from your mentors, teachers, and bosses as you go through, but when you're on the hospitality side, you're going to have to handle constructive criticism for your customers, and your customers are the ones that pay your bills. So you have to have a very open mind. It almost becomes sort of a psychology, for a lack of a better word, where you're, especially with the customer set, that you're doing your very best, even if they're saying something that's completely off base, that you're not telling them that they're wrong. You have to be constructive in your responses. Great communicators, and then innovators. Innovation is something that's very important in the restaurant and hospitality industry. If you think about what was trendy a few years ago versus what is trendy now, that's all because of innovation. If you had told me 15 years ago that I was going to be eating a pizza made with a cauliflower crust, I would have told you were absolutely nuts. And it's one of the highest grossing, fastest developing products in food service right now.
So I want to touch on something that Chris had just mentioned there about constructive criticism. When you're out in the industry and certainly early in your career, don't and even at any point in your career, don't be afraid to ask somebody how to do something. I had an example not long ago where I was dealing with somebody who had very little experience, and I was kind of training and showing and this, that, and the other. And I asked them a question, do you know how this is done? And they said, yeah, I know how that is. And it was kind of like, okay, I was going to share some information. And I finally told him, I said, you may know how to do it, but don't be so quick to shut it down. Say, yes, I have a good understanding, but maybe I'd like to hear what your spin on it is, because there might be something more that somebody's going to teach you. But more than anything, the thing I wanted to talk about here is that last bullet point. They're doing things for the right reasons. I've been working for the past couple of weeks with a chef here locally. He's actually a high school instructor. He's getting ready to compete in a competition that if he wins this, he will go on to the national chef of the year competition. And every time I go out there, there's one of his students that's there. She's taking notes and doing this, that, and the other. When the thing's done, she's cleaning up and washing dishes and helping him get everything organized again for the next session. And I finally asked her, I said, why are you here? And she kind of looked at me. I said, is it a class assignment? She goes, no. I said, are you getting extra credit for it? She said, no. And I said, well, then why are you here at everyone? She says, because I want to be a chef and I want to see what he's doing. And it's interesting. And there's a lot that I'm learning from this experience. There's 15 other kids in that class. She's the only one that's there. And she would be open to anybody being there. So she's doing it because she wants to learn. She wants to this, she wants that. She's not doing it for extra credit, or there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're doing things for the right reasons, good things happen to you in your career and things will come along. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the right reason is always the good reason.
I'll take it a step further. If you're doing things for the right reasons, good things happen in life. It's not only your career. Be a good human, I think, is the end of that. Haley had asked me to talk a little bit about opportunities at Benny Keith. The screen in front of you shows the members of our Aspire class of 2022. Our Aspire class is our internship program. We run it every year. It's predominantly sophomores going into their junior year and juniors going into their senior year of college. It's an all summer long program. We have representatives from all 9 of our divisions that come into the program, and they represent all the different fields. Some of them are culinarians, other ones work in logistics, purchasing, procurement, all the way across the board. I'm very, very proud to say that when we put somebody through our Aspire intern class, some companies kind of check the box because it looks good to have interns. Of those, I didn't count the number, but of all those people that you see on the screen in front of you, all but one of them were offered a job coming out of their internship program. Many of them are still in college, and think about how satisfying that is to have a career path in front of you if you choose to take it. So as you get into your college career, if becoming an intern at Benny Keith is something that's exciting to you, reach out to us. I'm fairly easy to find through the Benny Keith ecosystem. If you want me to send you a business card or a link, I'm happy to do that. And then Haley, of course, too, if you keep in touch with the Texas Restaurant Association and the foundation, she'll have that information. I want to show you, I see there's a chat. I'll come back to that in just a second. I want to show you a really quick video, technology willing, about our Inspire internship program. Oops, that one. That's not that one. Where'd it go? Did I lose it, Pat? Bottom one. Just clicking on the link. That's a good call, right? Y'all cue the music while we figure out technology. We sell groceries. We don't do technology well. Get back into the share. Oh. I completely goofed it now. Haley, can you read us the question or what's in the chat while I try to figure out what in the world I've done?
Yeah, it was actually just me. I wanted, after this video, if you could go back to the Inspire slide.
Sure.
I personally could only still see that first slide, the careers in food service. So I wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to see that slide.
Oh, no.
And
Am I
while
safe
Chris
saying that
and
everybody missed all of our other slides?
that is probably a good assumption, but I can see that now. Yep. Yep, we're all good.
Okay.
Awesome. We can see those.
I'm going to
now.
go back and try to cue the video real quick and
Yep.
hopefully this will work. And if not, then we'll just move
Sounds
on.
good. And in the meantime, I'm going to actually drop our YouTube link for everybody. That way they can go back and look at. Oh,
You're going to get to watch a commercial because that's the way YouTube works.
yes.
We appreciate you joining us today for the
Hey, Chris, I can only see the slide. I don't see the video.
How about now?
Oh, yes, I can see it now. Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, y'all, about the technical difficulties.
Appreciate you joining us today for the opportunity to learn from our interns and the conversation with our Aspire interns for the class of 2022.
I believe our management team does a really good job of dealing with people, and I think I've learned a lot from them.
So always great to expand on your communication skills. So I also got to learn about how to handle those tough conversations.
Have a model of trying to help the restaurant, which will at the end of the day help Benny Keith.
Some of the things I took away is just how much of a culture shapes a company and how well Benny Keith does that.
Never would I ever thought how the food actually gets in a restaurant and how it's cooked for us, and the whole process for it to get there.
I feel like it's a great learning experience. You get to see all the different sides of the business.
The Aspire program is such a great opportunity to see and learn. There's so many parts of the food service industry that I just didn't even know about. I never would have known how many hands touch something like a potato going from farm to table. And so for anyone who wants to learn and grow in their knowledge, Benny Keith Aspire internship is the place to go.
All right, Haley, I'm going to pull up the rest of the deck with any luck. But what I will say to you is we can certainly share this deck. I'll share it with you, and you can send it back out to the classrooms if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
And then, are you seeing the slides now, or?
You see Morgan Freeman up in the top left-hand corner?
We sure do.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, this is the last slide. And, one of the things that we kind of talked about is from the start of your career to where you end up, it can be a wild ride, and it can take you places that you never thought you would end up. When I graduated the Culinary Institute of America and started my career, I watched some of these great chefs up there at the school competing in the Culinary Olympics, and I had no idea that that was even a thing. There was a USA National Olympic team. Again, no idea that was a thing. And through my career, now to where I'm at right now, I've had the opportunity to compete in 3 Culinary Olympics, 1 Culinary World Cup. I've represented the United States in Kuala Lumpur at the Global Chefs Challenge. I won National Chef of the Year in 2016. Some things that I just really would have never imagined in my wildest dreams. And as you kind of progress through your career, it just takes you where it takes you. And I know Chris's story is very similar to that in in his career, the things that he's gotten to do and opportunities. So this is a great, great industry. Learn what you can, take what you can from that learning and apply it where you see best, not necessarily that, well, if I'm going to culinary training, I have to be a chef. That's not necessarily the case.
That is our presentation, Miss Haley. Are there any questions?
We'll take a few moments to let anybody put any in the chat if there are any. I know I personally have some questions for y'all. As we're talking to our ProStart High School students, what advice do you have to them? And what advice could you possibly give to your younger self starting out in this industry? I know you talked a little bit about, taking those jobs that maybe aren't the most fun, but it's what will help your career and what will help your company or business you're working for. But what are some other advice that you would give them?
So, I always made it a point when I took a job to stay a year and a day, only because I wanted to make sure I got that 1 year. If you stay 3 months and then change jobs for a better job and stay 3 months and change, eventually you get a reputation as a job hopper. And companies don't necessarily want to hire somebody and invest time in training them if they're going to leave in 3 months. So if they look at a resume and start seeing a year here, 2 years there, they understand that you're going to be committed to that job. So it's a personal commitment. And I got to tell you, probably the single best job of my life was offered to me 3 weeks after I started a job. And I told them, I've made a commitment to this company. I was going to open this hotel. I was going to get this, that, and the other done. And, I would love to work for this particular company. And they said, well, you let us know when you're ready. We'll be here. And that company is Benny Keith. So, just you got to hold true to your convictions and what you feel is important.
Just to add on to that, I think that if I could have told my younger self something, it would have been just to be completely open to every opportunity that comes your way and follow your muse. Do what makes you happy. We work to live. We don't live to work. And if you had told me when I was a sports writer in college that someday I was going to be leading a sales team in the restaurant and hospitality industry, I would have told you were crazy. It's funny how life takes weird twists and turns. And some of the biggest honors of my life have fallen into my lap just because I've been open to opportunities. I mean, being able to serve on the board for the foundation has been very rewarding, and it was something I never saw coming. And the other part is be a nice human and don't watch too much Gordon Ramsay. I love me some Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay does great restaurants, but I will tell you the culinary industry has changed a lot, and that is not the way that you will move your career forward.
And we've worked long and hard over the years to get that reputation gone. I came up in some pretty tough kitchens, but those days are gone. Nobody wants to work in that environment anymore. So as Chris said, be a good human.
Definitely. That's great advice. And we talked a little bit about this before we started the webinar, but with ProStart Invitational coming up at the end of March, I would love for y'all to give maybe your favorite memory from ProStart and something that you love about ProStart.
Wow. I don't have a single favorite memory, but my favorite memory would be the passion that the folks put into this thing, the competitors. And it brings joy to my heart to see them compete and work as a team. And when it's all done, man, many times they break down. I mean, it's just so intense. And I say that in a good way. It's intense in a good way. You can't get that adrenaline rush and that they'll remember those memories the rest of their lives. These folks that compete in this thing. It's a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, Pat just unintentionally stole my thunder. Mine is from last year, actually. I came mid-afternoon. It was towards the end of the competition. I don't remember what team it was. They finished their demo. They're putting together of their dish.
Yeah.
And instantly started high-fiving and hugging each other. Of course, they didn't even know how they'd done at that point. But my memory was I was sitting next to one of their parents and I looked over at their mother and she was teared up. She had tears coming down her face. And I kind of said, smiling, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I never thought I'd see my son have this much joy in something." And he was just so wound up. So yeah, that's something I took home with me.
Yeah, real intense.
I know everybody at TRA and TRF is really looking forward to ProStart and seeing you both there. I would like to end with this one last question for y'all. And is that what advice can you give to any of our students that may be watching this who are competing at ProStart at the end of March?
That is all Pat. He might be one of your judges.
You know,
Yes, you
remember
will be.
it's a team effort. And you win as a team, you lose as a team. I've competed for 30 years all around the world with teams. There have been some heartbreaking losses, but you know what? We're a team, and we could all say, well, it was this or it was that, and point a finger here, but we don't, because we're a team. And I always say, if you're going to say that was the thing that caused you to not win, well, maybe it was the other 5 things, because that one thing usually doesn't hold enough points to knock you out. So everybody kind of has a handle in that. And then when you win, again, it's a team. It's not I won or I did this or I carried the team. It's a team effort. So and also remember, the judges are there to see y'all succeed. When we point something out, you know, it's to help you get better. When we're standing there writing as you're cooking and you're thinking, oh, what did I do? What's he writing down? It may be a great thing that you did. So don't let that get into your head either. Enjoy the competition, support each other as a team, and have fun.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us and our students today. Classroom to Career is a very special project that we started in the midst of COVID, and I'm glad that we're continuing it on. So thank you. And this will be recorded and posted to our YouTube. Oh, we actually have a chat here. I was in the culinary program before it was ProStart. I never imagined the program would get this big. That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I competed as a ProStart student in 2016, and it is just such an honor to be able to see how much it's grown as a competitor and get to kind of share my experiences and now get to plan the event. So it's really special for me as well.
That's fun. And I will say, Haley, just real quick, Pat and I, of course, will both be down at ProStart. If any of the people that are watching us have any questions, by all means, tackle us, ask a million questions. We'd love to hear it. And Haley, I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm in sales,
No,
not
that is
technology,
okay.
but I will send you the deck so you can send it back out.
Of course. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, and we'll see you very soon at the Texas ProStart Invitational. Bye, guys.
All right, thanks, y'all.
Very nice.